everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, as I'm sure you know from the title and everything, that I'm not alone today, and I'm actually with the amazing Sam, who has her own YouTube channel. And today we are partnering to talk with you guys all about mental health and writing. Basically, how the fuck to write a book while still keeping your mental health intact. But before we get into things, please introduce yourself, Sam.
Thank you kindly, Kylie. I'm writing mom Samantha L. Nasset, and on my channel I talk about writer things, parent things, and writer-parent things, as well as document my writing, mental, and physical health journeys. Thank you for having me on your channel, Kylie.
Of course, thank you so much for joining me. So because mental health is such a nuanced and complicated topic, we basically are separating this video into 3 different sections where we're going to answer 3 different questions, and we're both just going to kind of share our experiences. And of course, our advice to you guys on how to handle shit. So with all of that being said, let's get into the video.
It can actually be really difficult for me to push past certain things. I have CPTSD, which is complicated post-traumatic stress disorder. If I'm having a depressive episode, pushing past it is actually pretty easy for me to do because writing helps. But if my anxiety is spiking, it can actually make my anxiety worse. My first step is figuring out what exactly is going on with me. Then I can determine if it's wiser to push through or to take a step back and do something else. Learning my limits and what is triggering different symptoms is a vital starting point for me. If it's something that I can push through, then I can summon the stubborn and bulldoze on. Otherwise, I have to be kind to myself and remember that I'm not always Wonder Woman.
And I'm definitely no Wonder Woman neither. For me, when my mental health starts to be a little bitch, I kind of just try and figure out how severe it's gonna be. So I struggle with depression and anxiety, and as many of you guys know, I am trans, so I also get to deal with gender dysphoria on top of all of that, which can also sometimes cause my anxiety or depression to flare up. Unfortunately, it's not a fun time. And once I've kind of figured out which one of those 3 or how many of them I'm dealing with, I just kind of figure out, okay, how bad is it today? I have days where my anxiety is quite literally back-to-back panic attacks, and I have days where my anxiety is just my brain telling me that everyone hates me. Now, obviously, neither of those situations are ideal, but one of those days is fine for me to just kind of push through and do work, and one of those situations is not ideal for that, and I will let you figure out which one is which. So with that being said, if it's a minor mental health thing, I will usually just push through it, but if it's something larger, I will let myself take a few days off. And even when I do push through it, I make sure that I know that I'm probably not going to get my entire to-do list done that day, and that is completely okay because, I'm not in my normal headspace, so I'm not going to be as productive as usual, and as long as I'm getting something done, it really doesn't matter. And pretty much the only time I will push through a really bad episode is if I have a deadline that I can't miss, I can't move around at all whatsoever. So for example, finals week, yeah, I would probably try and push through for that. So basically for me, it kind of just depends on how severe everything is and then what I have going on in my life.
I write a to-do list that breaks down my tasks for the day. I have a clever fox planner that I absolutely adore because it separates my life from my work task and has little places that I can write my thoughts and feelings as I go along. When I write my daily list, I prioritize what needs to get done at the top of the list, and I alternate between doing big tasks and small tasks to give myself little easy wins throughout the day. I also have a physical chronic illness that can cause fatigue or brain fog at any given point, which makes doing anything creative really difficult and just kind of adds to the mental illness. But it is what it is. The other thing that helps a lot is knowing what's wrong, because if I know what's wrong, I can better distribute my energy to get the most done. What about you, Kylie?
So my approach to being productive has actually changed pretty recently. I do have a video on my channel all about how I schedule everything, so I'll have that linked down below if anyone's interested. But basically, the way that I typically do it is I have a bullet journal, and that is where I am both now time blocking and where I'm writing my to-dos for the day. And the way I do it is I track with the time block on my bullet journal everything that I do, and that's kind of okay, this is what I actually did. And then on a Google Calendar, I track like ideally what I want to happen. And at the end of the week, I kind of compare the two just to see. And as far as like mental health goes, it really helps me because I can see, okay, I didn't get that much done on Tuesday, but that's because I had a panic attack on Tuesday, so that's okay. And it can be really helpful when, I'm maybe not feeling so great, because I will highlight off things as I do them, and it just makes me feel a lot more accomplished. And especially when I'm not in a great headspace, it's really rewarding because like I know that I could easily say I'm having a bad mental health day and just not do anything, and I wouldn't hurt myself for it, but instead, I'm pushing through it and I'm getting stuff done, and it just makes me feel better. With that being said, when I do push through it, I do lower my expectations, and most of the time I will even take stuff off of my to-do list completely. That way it just makes me feel a little bit better. And for me, when it comes to like being productive when I'm struggling, starting is definitely the hardest part, and after that it's really just a snowball effect of productivity for me for the most part. So it's really just about me getting in that space where I can start to be productive and do some stuff, and sometimes that just means making my bed or feeding my cats.
Yes, I love that. Alright, to be honest, this is kind of new for me. Before I took my hiatus, I took all of my feedback in stride and never really felt down about it. However, when I got feedback on an old short story highlighting a lot of issues that I really should have known better, it just spiked my anxiety every time I went to revise that story. Firstly, I let my emotions run their course. And I cried for a long ass time. Even let myself feel a little bit of self-pity. And then I spoke with my husband and a couple of my closest CPs, who reassured me that I could improve the story. So little by little, I worked on it, and if my anxiety spiked to the point that I just couldn't think anymore, I would put it away for the day. And then I had somebody look over the changes to reassure me that I was improving it and not just making it worse somehow. It was a slow process. But once I completed that draft, I could go back and work on it far more confidently, and I really love its current version. It was a really slow process, but once I finished revising that draft, I could go back and more confidently work on revisions and edits from that point on. And I really love the current version a lot more than the original.
I love that process. This is also a pretty new concept for me because before I had never really gotten overwhelmed with feedback. And that was because, so I'm currently wrapping up my second round of beta readers, and I had 10 betas for this round, and my previous round I had very few. I think I had like 4 or 5. I wouldn't recommend that for people. And the thing about having 10 beta readers is it's really overwhelming for me to go through all of their feedback and find the trends, especially with all of the criticism. It's just a lot. For me, it's really helpful for me to just go through the feedback in doses because then I don't feel overwhelmed. I'll go through like one beta's feedback for one batch, I'll take like 5 minutes a break, and then I will go through the next beta's feedback, and I'll kind of like do system kind of like that just so that I'm not getting too overwhelmed with it, but I'm still obviously going through the feedback. And I think that it's really helpful to just remember that your CPs and beta readers don't expect for you to be sending them a perfect draft. Everyone has room to improve and grow, and I think that that thought process can go a long way when going through feedback and trying to remind yourself that it's not perfect, and that's okay because it will probably never be perfect, but you can still, make it the best that it can possibly be.
Yes, that's the important part to keep in mind. And it's totally normal to feel down when people are picking apart your work. Sometimes it can be a roller coaster for me between excitement because of they had a point and beating myself up because I should have known better. But that's what the feedback process is for, helping us catch things that we hadn't on our own.
So that is all that we've got for you guys today. Thank you again to Sam for joining me, and I hope that we are able to help you guys navigate the bitch that is mental health while still helping you guys pursue your creative endeavors. And make sure to check the description box down below because I will have all of Sam's links there, so go check her out. She's amazing.
Aw, thank you! Kylie rocks. Y'all should subscribe and ring-a-ding that bell. I'm Writing Mom Samantha L. Nasset. You can find me on all my socials at Samantha L. Nasset. I have Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook. You can check out my website, SamanthaLNasset.com. I post videos every Wednesday and host live streams on Monday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my channels, Writing Mom Samantha L. Nasset. Hope to see y'all then. Bye!